harmonica first. Sky had a good suggestion, and then the prayer afterwards, and then we're going to also, right after the harmonica, do something that we haven't really given a good name to yet. But sometimes we call it the power of three, and sometimes we call it.
Yeshua named it, so it's not up to us.
Okay, yeah, I know, but I don't remember what that was.
I call it the Z thing, so that's quicker and easier.
But it's the power of three, and that's really because it is the power of three energy centers.
Z-Con, Ja, yeah.
Really all, especially when we have that spinning in a circle, and plus we have an inner circle too.
Right.
All we need to remember is the people who are beside us. So otherwise it gets too time-consuming and complicated to try to remember where everybody is in the circle. Just remember who's beside you on each side of you. That's all you need to remember. Okay, Brother Reggie. Everybody take a deep breath and follow Brother Reggie.
Mute.
And everybody.
Okay. Ready. Vim. Ja. Ko. Z. Z. Oh.
Everybody stay connected because we have one more thing to do real quick.
Oh yeah.
Everybody back in your circle, holding hands with the person beside you. And now Sky's going to lead us in
Power of
the
three.
power of three, which is joining the three energy centers, three top energy centers that are not the three, but the three important ones at the top, the most important ones, the Ka, the Z, and the Ja.
So the Ka, the brain, the Ja, the heart, and then we'll add in the Z, the one over the head. So we start with, we've already activated them all, so we don't have to do that. So now we start spinning our Ka forward into a blur of light.
Just visualize what she's saying.
And we join it with our Ja. So the Ka, Ja are both spinning forward into blurs of sparkling light, your head and your heart, in perfect sync together. Now we spin them backwards, instantly into blurs of light. They're spinning so fast. Now we spin them on a horizontal plane clockwise. Horizontal counterclockwise, Ka, Ja. Vertical plane clockwise and vertical counterclockwise, Ka, Ja, in perfect sync and harmony together. Now we add the Z. Z, Ka, Ja, spinning forward into blurs of light in perfect harmony. Backwards, Z, Ka, Ja. Horizontal clockwise. Horizontal counterclockwise, Z, Ka, Ja. Vertical clockwise. Vertical counterclockwise, Z, Ka, Ja, in perfect sync, in perfect harmony together. And now we're going to have Dansha do the prayer.
We could sit for the prayer.
We could. We could, everybody
had to sit down for the prayer.
But this is when we want to pray after doing this.
All right, Sister Don's is going to say a prayer for our group.
Hello, dear Heavenly Father and dear Heavenly Mother. Thank you for all the blessings you bestow upon us every single day. Thank you for always being here for us, watching upon us, and keeping an eye on our journey as children of light and stewards upon this planet Earth. May we always have the strength to proceed with our missions, and may we always be clean channels so we can hear your words and speak the truth and the wisdom of the heavens. We ask this to be in the name of our dear brother Yeshua of Nazareth. So be it.
So be
So be
it.
it.
And let's begin with a welcome to Deandria. And Deandria, maybe you could, if I'm saying your name correctly, I'm not sure. Please introduce yourself and all of those that are with you. Would you tell us a little bit about yourself and all the people that are with you?
Okay, so these are my families. Every one of us is here except my dad. My mom's at the back, and then these are my sisters. So we are joining for the first time as senior. And we are from Nigeria. Africa. We are
Where are
from
you located?
Nigeria.
Are you in Nigeria right now?
Yes.
All right. Well, welcome to our Celestine Light meeting.
So it's night here.
Well, welcome to our meeting, and we're having a little bit of connection problem with you there, but welcome to our meeting, and we will go ahead and get started, and we'll find out more about you. Hopefully you'll come back to more meetings and we'll learn more about you and your family.
Sure.
Wonderful.
Okay, so as those of you who have been here for a while know, I'm not that great for my memory for what's supposed to be happening. So we're going to go next. Okay, Eistibus from Vietnam has chosen our song for today. So we're going to listen to that.
If today was your last day, would you be pleased with what you've done? You know that life is short, can't procrastinate anymore. Go for your dreams, go for your goals, go for what you want to. No more delaying, no more waiting, there's greatness inside you. Make today your day, live this day like it's your last. You can't be afraid to fail, live this day like it's your last. Your story's far from over, but you will live forever. It's time to step into your light, live this day like it's your last. Feel the passion in your heart, show the world who you really are. Stop putting things off, go for what you really want. Go for your dreams, go for your goals, go for what you want to.
Wow, love it.
Wow, that
Wow.
was beautiful.
That was
Beautiful.
wonderful.
That's so wonderful.
That was really beautiful.
Thank you, Eistibus. That's
Glad that you enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it.
Inspirational.
well, it was even more amazing by the fact that, how old are you, Eistibus?
What?
How old are you?
Oh, I'm 21 years old.
That's even more amazing that you would, that was a great song, and that someone who's 21 is conscious of that concept.
So young in
It's
life.
really advanced we have. Because I mean,
Well,
I think a lot more about that in my 60s than I did when I was in my 20s, but it's very true. And I know for me, that multiple times during a day, I'll ask myself, if this was my last day, am I happy with how I've lived my life today and this week and this month and this year? I think it's a good introspection that we need to take from time to time with ourselves. What's next?
Well, actually, I'm learning how to play a flute. So after I finish learning it, I can play you some melody.
Oh, wow.
nice.
That would be wonderful.
I used to play the flute growing up. I
love the
started
flute.
quite young, but then I had surgery in my mouth and I've never been able to get that clear tone that I had developed, developing these
Oh.
muscles in here. You get a very clear, it's just a very clear tone.
Sister
Oh,
Jeanette, do
that's
you also play
bad.
the flute?
Yes?
Oh, no, I thought Sister Jeanette said she played the flute too.
Oh, I love
Oh,
the
Sis
flute.
Jenny.
I love the flute.
Well, we look forward to
Oh, we
hearing
can
you.
play
the
together.
American native flute. I play the native flute.
Oh, I'm playing a Chinese flute. You know it?
Oh, it's different.
What's different between the Chinese flute and other flutes?
Well, actually, the Chinese flute, it has a different structure. Like it has an extra hole, so you can put a membrane upon it. It creates some kind of vibrations and enhance the melody even better.
Wonderful.
We're looking forward to a personal performance
Oh
once
my
you're ready.
God.
Right.
So we
Well, I just love music and sounds, and I just read the chapter when Yeshua talk about the power of sound. Now I can see that music can be used to weave spells.
Oh,
Yes, it
absolutely.
can be.
Indeed.
Especially the flute. It's very
Yes.
hypnotic.
It's very creative.
So we have Kiel's video. We have
The Chinese flute is very similar to the Native American flute that I play.
Really?
So
Oh.
yes,
Oh.
you can create so many beautiful things with nature. Walk in nature with that and play with the trees and the flowers. You would be amazed at the answers you get and the questions you get from them. You can also control the weather around your house sometimes once you get
Yeah,
more in tune with that nature. Yeah, it's awesome.
that's amazing. Yeah.
It is amazing.
Maybe after I finish my learning, we can play together.
That's what I was thinking.
Well, as advanced a person as you are, I expect that your learning curve will be very rapid. So maybe next week, or the week after, we can hear from you.
No
That would be
Well,
amazing to hear.
Well, actually, I haven't got it yet because
Okay, 3 weeks.
my flute is crafted in the China, so
Oh,
it will be 2 months away before
Oh.
I get here.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to hear you once you
Yeah.
have it.
Yeah, well, the two of you
Ready.
together would be
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you and Jeanette can practice together and give us a duet.
That'd
Okay,
be awesome. Awesome.
let's go
Awesome.
with Brother Kiel is not here today, but he sent us a video. So we're going to watch his video real quick. So Brother Kiel is our resident herbal expert, and so he's going to tell us some more about something with the herbal kingdom today.
Hello, brothers and sisters. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the uses of red raspberry leaf. I know we are all familiar with raspberries and how great they taste, as well as being a healthy fruit to include in your diet, but many don't realize that there are actually health benefits in just the leaf itself. The red raspberry plant, which is a member of the Rosaceae family, from which there are around 3,000 species, which are generally woody plants, mostly shrubs or small to medium-sized trees, some of which are armed with thorns, spines, or prickles. Red raspberry is cultivated and grows wild throughout the United States, Canada, Europe, and Asia. There are many different species of raspberry, although most of the information on raspberry does not seem to distinguish the different species. The plant stands about 6 feet tall. It may be vining, shrubby, but tends to grow in thickets. You can also grow this plant yourself if you like. One of the easiest ways to go about using the leaves of the plant is to simply make a tea of them. I myself think it makes a good tasting tea, although there's not much of a raspberry taste to it with just using the leaves itself. And it's pretty much my go-to herb when I do feel like drinking tea. And the leaves are also rich in vitamins and minerals. It can be difficult to identify a raspberry plant unless there are fruits ready to harvest. But it is helpful to understand how to identify the plant by just the foliage alone. The stalks of the plant have small, hairy thorns. The leaves grow alternately on the stalk and are composed of 3 to 5 pinnately compound leaflets. The center leaflet is sometimes 2 or 3-lobed, and the underside of the leaflets are going to be a silvery color. The red raspberry leaf is also known as the women's herb, although it is still great for men to use as well. The red raspberry has a long history of supporting women through pregnancy. It stimulates tones and regulates before and during childbearing, assisting contractions and checking hemorrhage during labor, relieving after pains, then strengthening, cleansing, and enriching the milk of the mother in the post-delivery period. The tea is a valuable and effective tonic for female menstrual problems. The leaves are soothing and toning to the stomach and bowels, with healing action to sore mouths, throats, nausea, diabetes, and diarrhea. Now, I will end this with a story I found about one of Dr. Christopher's patients using the red raspberry leaf for influenza. A lady called Dr. Christopher when he was in Great Falls, Montana. She was a patient of his, and she was really worried about a couple of their children that had come home from school with the stomach flu. This particular flu was spreading very rapidly, and she had 8 children in only one bathroom. He answered, "The last time I was over at your house, I noticed you had a large patch of red raspberries." "Yes," she said, "but what has that got to do with the stomach flu?" He said, "Go out and gather several bushels of leaves of the red raspberry bushes. Don't rob any of them, but just take a little off each bush. You make that up into a tea. You take a big handful and pour a pint of boiling water over that portion and let it steep for 20 minutes. Make up gallons of it. For the children that have already come home with the flu, give them some as well, and you and your husband too. If they're hungry, give them this tea. Give them lots and lots of it," he said. The lady was willing to try anything, and the next time he saw her, she was very happy. She said the 2 children that had come home sick, just like the rest of the children, might have been out of school for days, maybe weeks. Yet they went to school the next day, along with the rest of the children. She and her husband didn't catch the flu. Red raspberry tea cleared the sick and kept the others from getting sick. So I would like to thank you all for listening, and I hope you can find this useful at some point in your future. So I'll say namaste, brothers and sisters.
Brother Reggie, wisdom of the warrior.
Oh, we lost our name.
Yes. Good. Yes, absolutely. So I was contemplating what I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about something related to what I've been doing in terms of martial arts, but I was it was kind of interesting. I was really inspired to talk about this. I think it's important because a lot of things have been happening all across the world. It's been happening for centuries and all that, decades, centuries, years. And one of the things that always pop up, with people is, why do good things happen? Why do bad things happen to good people? Right? And why do good things happen to bad people? That's the question we all ask. And sometimes we look at others, like, how come this person is enjoying the fruits of life, and then he or she is very mean, is very irresponsible, this and that. And sometimes we hear car accidents and we hear people say, this person was such a good person, he didn't have to die like this. This person was all this, didn't have to die. Why is this happening? And it was kind of interesting because I was reading the Celestine Light. I was reading the passages as I was looking through it. I came upon this particular passage, and this passage sums everything, right? And I like to read it and share it because it puts things to light. Because we as Celestine Light have to understand, the reason why things happen, right? And once we understand that, then everything else is in sync, is in balance. So this is from, I'm giving you exact location. It's from Vivus, chapter 46, verse 34 to 54. Can everybody hear me correctly? Just want to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So Vivus, chapter 46, verse 34 to 54. And it starts off like this. Elohim is not a faceless eon without substance or form, as it is taught today. Even the very texts of the scrolls read in the synagogues record Moses speaking to Elohim face to face. That there is no doubt that the scroll records an actual event and not a metaphor. The scripture concludes as one man speaks to another. Understand that Elohim is not a faceless eon of the male persuasion, nor is Elohim only one eon as you have been led to believe, but many. But the Elohim that is the creator of this world are three: the Father, the Mother, and the Son, who is your brother. For the eternal soul of each of you is a creation of our Father and Mother in heaven. And more than this, an Elohim is also what each one of you can become someday as you learn and grow from your experiences and choices and become perfect. And it is for this cause to learn and grow and become more perfect that you should be striving for every minute of your physical life upon the earth. And it is for this cause that you might learn and grow by your experiences and choices, that suffering is allowed to exist in your life and the life of every person, some to a very great degree. There's no greater desire of your Father and Mother in heaven than you should return to them in glory. And they wait with love to embrace you and welcome you home. But you cannot return to a realm of perfection ruled by the Elohim unless you are first more perfect. You do not need
Brother Reggie, you are on mute.
Okay, somebody muted me. Sorry. Let me go back. Thank you, Sister Dancha.
Okay.
There is no great desire of your Father and Mother in heaven that you should return to them in glory, and they wait with love to embrace you and welcome you home. But you cannot return to a realm of perfection ruled by the Elohim unless you are first more perfect. You do not need to be perfect as the Elohim are, for you continue to expand for all eternity, and you have forever to improve upon your perfection. But you must grow beyond the bonds of the ways of the world. You must grow into the ways of the Elohim. And in that, you become greater than you are, greater than you began, and with harmony that you live in the presence of the Elohim. When you seek to understand the nature of Elohim, and try to comprehend why suffering exists and why bad things happen, even to the most wonderful and righteous people, remember how you help your own children to become more than babes. In the same manner, your Father and Mother in heaven seek to help all their children upon the earth. You let your children experience their life. You teach them right from wrong, what can hurt them, what is good for them. You admonish them to be of good character and virtue. They journey through life and they never forget the teachings you gave to them, but by word and by example, both by word and by example. But until your teachings are confirmed by their own experiences and observations, they do not shape them into more than they were. By the teachings of your words and the examples of your lives, you lay the foundation for the building upon which your children construct their lives. But the building is not built until they can prove by their own experiences and observations that the foundation is true. By this, they learn and they grow. Sometimes they make mistakes, and even those confirm the foundation you built and help them to become more the next day than they were the day before, if they so choose. And I say unto you that every day of life is a school, no matter your age, and each day there are many tests, and each choice you make, be it big or small, is one. Sometimes people, even well-intentional and righteous people, make the wrong choices. They learn from the pain and the error of their ways. When the choices comes again, they hopefully choose wiser. It is better to experience a little pain and suffering for your short time in mortality to help you to walk a better path than to not have that incentive to walk in righteousness and condemn yourself by your poor choices to far greater pain and suffering for days without end in the life to come. It is by this means to experience the bad and the good, to make choices, both right and wrong, to have the opportunity each day to become better than you were the day before, that your sojourn is mortality is fulfilled, and you may pass beyond the shining gate and into the realm of the Elohim forever. So just by this scripture kind of tells us the reason why good things happen to bad people and why bad things happen to good people. So we as Celestine should know and should understand is the most important thing that we should be in this life is to be the best that we can in all aspects and not worry about other people, but worry about ourselves, walking in the progression of the light. Good things happen to bad people, bad things happen to good people. Sometimes good things happen to good people and bad things happen to bad people, right? But our main concern as Celestine is to be concerned by ourselves and those we are surrounded with, by our loved ones, and be concerned with that and not pay attention to why good things happen to bad people, why bad things happen to good people, because that's their own progression. That's their own lesson that they have to learn from themselves. I attest that this is truthful. I testify to you, my brothers and sisters of light, the truth of these things, and I do so in the name of our brother, Yeshua of Nazareth. So be it.
So be it. Thank you, Brother Reggie.
Thank you, Sister Bella.
So be it.
Thank you. I hope everybody
You are
heard
on
me clearly.
mute, dear Embrosewyn.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brother Reggie. That was wonderful. And I think that's a great subject for
welcome.
us to talk about as a whole lesson in the future and delve into even more detail as the law of consequence. And there's a lot of interesting universal laws that apply to everyone, regardless of who they are, and rich, poor, bad, good, the same laws apply, laws of consequence. But people don't understand what those laws are and how those laws work. And so they get tangled up in them and hurt by them. So
These are universal
yeah,
laws.
the universal laws. So this would be actually a good, take a note, so I remember,
I am.
to start teaching some of the universal laws, of which the laws of consequence is just one. All right, so we
We
have,
have Eistibus and Erica for their small talk.
okay, great. Brother Eistibus, you have a talk for us today.
Yes. I will share the screen. for our new member because I don't think they have the oracles.
Okay, very good.
So topic today I will talk about is life. Well, life is precious and full of joys, but it's also short. And sometimes there will be painful moments. Just like our brother Yeshua said, no one could know which dawn will be his last. This is true because in last 2 months, I have experienced the death of 2 of my most beloved family members. That is my grandpa and my aunt, who was very dear to me. Then in the painful moments, I realized that the truth, I have learned the lesson for myself only by experiencing this truth. I will share the screen. It will be the chapter 54, the youthfulness of age, verse 3 to 22. I will share the screen so you can read to me, read it together with me. Yeah.
Fifty-four. That would be Vivus.
54, verse 3 to 22, and I don't know which verse they would be in your books. So I will share the screen so you can follow with me. Yeshua invited them to ask any question they desired, and Judas, son of Cleophas, was first to speak, asking, "It is said that Enoch and all the people of his city never tasted death, but changed in a moment from mortality to immortality. It is also the destiny for us to serve Elohim with all our life." Yeshua answered, saying, "If you become so enraptured and harmonious with the Celestine light of Elohim, that you are perfected beyond the world and are unaffected by the mortal world around you, then you will be translated in the blink of an eye from mortality to immortality. For this world will no longer be able to keep you upon it because your resonance has exceeded its capacity to hold you. There have been some through the generations that have found this path, but I tell you in truth, it's nothing to aspire to. If Elohim had wanted your mortal bodies to go from mortality to immortality without tasting death, that is the way you would have been created, or the promise you would have been given to worthy children of light. Though it would seem to be a sweet reward for the pure and virtuous, in truth, it only makes the path longer. Never forget that one of the reasons you are here in this mortal world of strife, pain, and turmoil is to learn from your experience, both the bitter and the sweet. If you never tasted the bitter, you would not fully appreciate the delight of the sweet. If you never had to test yourself against the physical challenges of work and life, you would not become strong and healthy, but would become a husk without muscle or strength. If you never had to speak with others and learn to sometimes have a game of wit and words, you would never become a leader, but live and die as you began. If you never had occasions to fall ill or see your body begin to age, you'd have fearless motivations to eat a proper diet, have good hygiene, or do all other things I have taught you to have health and vitality, to first live a full life, and then to lay a mortal shell down for its final rest. Be it in peace or with pain, is an important step on the path of eternal progressions. And whether it is with peace or pain is most often in your hands. Most people are not afraid of growing old or infirmed. They are afraid of what comes after that. Many do not have an unwavering faith in the life to come. They are afraid that when they die, that will be the end of their existence. And fearing this, they cling in desperation to every last breath and wish to extend their mortality to the utmost. Even when it's in a painful and degraded state, others have a faith in the hereafter, but still fear death, knowing they will have to make an accounting for the poor life they have led, and fearing the place of cold and darkness they intuitively feel must be their destinations. Though enfeebled and infirm, they hold with intensity to every breath of mortality, apprehensive that the next life will be even less kind to them. But the children of light, should have a different understanding about life and death, and a door to immortality that opens at the very moment of your last breath. If you did not have challenges in life of all kinds, physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional, you would leave mortality no greater than you came into it. You would be like the stunned tree standing alone on the plain, always receiving water and sun, but never growing tall and mighty among its kind because it lacked the challenge of competing for water in sun among its brethren in the forest. In trees, in man, is not good nourishment alone that builds greatness, but also learning to deal with adversity and growing stronger and taller because of it. This does not mean you should not always be striving for a life of peace and harmony, for you should be. But know that despite all you can do, there will be times when adversity still comes knocking at the door, and you will be tried by the fires of mortality. At those times, do not pray for Elohim to take the trials away, but for Elohim to bolster your fortitude and help you know and do the things you must to overcome the challenges. Then your soul will grow and expand from your experience. For this is one of your great purpose upon the earth. But then comes the day when mortality slips away and your spirit and soul rise in freedom into mortality. This is not the end, but a new beginning for those who endeavor to work mortality with love, honesty, and respect. The immortality that greets them is more glorious than you can possibly imagine. What I wish you to clearly understand is that aging and leaving the shell of mortality is a helpful part of your eternal progressions. Experiencing that allows you to all the more cherish and appreciate the immortality that follows. So, my dear family of light, most people believe that death is the end of their existence. but we are the children of light. And we learn that death is not merely death, but it is also a gateway of transformations that can help us, like a milestone that marks the ending of our journey on earth before we begin another chapter of our adventure somewhere else. And then where we will grow and learn and experience more and expand our soul essence like our Heavenly Mother and Father. They used to be mortal people just like us today. And they also experienced death before they came to the glorious state they have today. So let death become our friend. Like we will enjoy our life, every single moment of our life. And when the death comes, we will welcome him like an old friend and let him take us to another journey and let us begin another one. So one day we will expand and become glorious as our Heavenly Father and Mother. And we will become the future Elohim, and we will create life and creations just like our heavenly parents did. So I would tell you this. In this life, we will, day after day, we will laugh more, we will love more, and we shall enjoy and be grateful for every single moment of our lives. So be it.
So be it. Thank you, Brother Eistibus. That was
In
wonderful.
the name of Yeshua, so be it. Thank you so much, Brother Eistibus. That was really
So beautiful.
talking and wonderful.
Right. Very good.
Excellent. Excellent.
That was great.
Yes, thank you so much.
Erica.
Mhm.
Sister,
Thank you.
you have a talk for us today too, right?
Yes, I do. I was going to talk on family, but I think I will speak on endurance since Brother Reggie and Brother Eistibus spoke on those two things that relate to that. So I'm not prepared for the endurance, but I will speak on it anyway.
You can talk on family. That's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
We put everything together. Yeah, we're on the same
Yeah,
page. That's
I
good.
was
See?
in between both.
No,
Well,
it's
so
okay.
the talk that I wanted to have about family is that family can be anybody, not just the family that we born into, like this beautiful family of light of all of you that I'm so happy to have. Family are people that you can come to when you need guidance, when you need assistance, when you need help. Actually, I come to my family a light with any questions that I have and anything I'm going through before I actually go to my family members because I feel more accepted and more loved and more understanding from my family alike. So I feel that it's family doesn't just have to be like I said, what you're born into. It could be people you meet along the way. It could be like right here, this family of light. And I feel that we should not just limit ourselves to, just to, because some people is like, oh, I don't want to talk to you about this if you're not born in my family. Where I was raised that everything must stay within the family, but especially meeting all of you. I'm so grateful and so thankful and have so much gratitude because it's just been amazing for me this past 2 years. Um, I love all of you as if all of you were and all of you are actually, because we're all from the same Heavenly Mother, Heavenly Father. But I'm just so grateful for all of you. And I just want to say thank you And I want to help keep our family growing and growing because I look forward to this. I wish we could find some way to incorporate more days with all of us. And that's all I have to say today for my talk. And I
Thank you so
testify
much.
to all these things through my brother Yeshua, and so be it. I love all of you so much.
So be it.
So
And
be
So
we
it.
love
be it.
We
you.
love you.
Love
Love
all
you
of you.
back.
We're blessed to have you.
Yeah.
Sister of the light.
This is
Big
a
hugs.
great day. I love Sunday. We get to see each other.
Yeah, why can't Sunday be every day?
That'd be cool.
Thank you so much, Erica.
Thank you.
This
Do you
may
want to-
probably be-
Sky's going to talk about her experience with her aunt.
Just a quick talk. Yeah, I have an aunt that was 92 years old this year, just a month ago. And she recently fell and broke a couple vertebrae in her back. And the doctor said her bones were too brittle to do any surgery and that she would be bedridden. And so, knowing her, I'm aware that she's actually been ready to leave the planet for a long time, but she's one of these really strong genes and her health has always been strong and she just has hung on. And so I just sent her, she broke her back and she was bedridden over the weekend, last weekend. And on Sunday, I sent the angel of transition to her and the angel of soul passage, figuring whatever she needs, they could help her. And the next day she passed. And that was just so special to me because that was not coincidence. They obviously were able to help her. She's the type of person that could just hang on forever, no matter what state she was in, because that was just her personality. So I think it was really wonderful that she hated being bedridden. I mean, even when she was normally feeling good, she couldn't stand to ever be down. And so that was pretty special and how quick it happened. So, and you're basically the only ones I can share this with because no one else even knows what I'm talking about or would believe it or anything. So,
Well, and we have one of Sky's customers has a mother who's 104 now, and she got COVID, and she's just
got
not.
shingles.
Yeah,
and
she's
in
just
terrible
been in
shape.
misery for years, and it's like, well, just go. You don't have to
Yeah.
stay.
But that's our nature, especially those of us people that don't know, that you're not really dying, you're just leaving this life for another.
Walking through a door from one place to another.
Yeah, so it's people's nature and fear to just hang on against all odds, just like I think it was Eistibus was reading part of that. So, or maybe that was Reggie, one of you read about, not wanting to let go of this life. And so, yeah, that was what I wanted to share.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sky.
Thank you for sharing. It's a beautiful experience that the angels were able to help her.
Indeed.
Very powerful. Very powerful.
Mhm.
Okay, so Sister Dacha, you have our lesson from the oracles today.
Yes, I do. Well, first of all, I would like to welcome our new member, Xandria. I accepted her. She's from Nigeria and she is 19 years old. And she and her mother, they both read the oracles. They tried to contact us several times, but eventually they stumbled upon our videos, and through the videos, they understood that we have a group, and so she sent an invitation. So they are been reading the oracles, and they knew where they are coming into. So they are very welcome. And thank you everyone for. I just want to say thank you everyone for your talks today. I feel very full of love with the Lanakas, the start, the whole energy. And so love is the theme today, love and family and death and departure, which is everything that Yeshua and Yochanan announced actually in chapter 3 from Vivus. They announced to the family, they announced the start of the next level in their life, the start of their mission in fullness. They announced their dads that they are not afraid. And this is why they came here. And they are announced it to the family. But in the family, they understood who is actually a family, as we will see. And there is a second announcement here in this chapter. As I understood, Yeshua announced to all the people in front of them with a kiss, a gentle kiss, that Miriam is his first apostle. So, as we saw, that after 5 full months of fasting and communicating in the wilderness, Yochanan and Yeshua in the former chapter, they finally got the whole picture. They finally understood who they were and their mission until the end. And they announced it to one another. And now they were ready to announce it in front of their family. And when they returned to Bethany, to Miriam's and Martha's father and mother, Lazarus came to Yeshua and he said, "You know what, as always, my father wants to throw a party for your self-return." I believe Lazarus' father wanted to celebrate everything on earth. He had money, but yeah, he was a happy man. But Yeshua said, and Lazarus said, "But knowing you and all the talk we had in the desert, I know that you would probably don't want to spend money like that." And Yeshua said, "Yes, Lazarus, you know my heart." And he bid Lazarus to ask his father to take this money to the widows who had children at home, to donate to them, which is what we are doing every first Sunday of every month. We are fasting, and the money we would have spent on, I don't know, pizza, home delivery, or being in a restaurant, we should donate it. I donate to animals, but you can donate to people. But to whatever your heart desire, the money we will spend on food, or gather the food and just bring to a homeless animal or human, if you like. This is also a beautiful thing to do, as Yeshua always said to Lazarus, to do with his money, not to spend it on celebrations that nobody remembers, like weddings in today's world. So they gathered all the family, and even the remote family, the aunts and uncles, and they said that they came from the wilderness and trusted by Elohim to begin in earnest their work that they have come to earth to fulfill. And this means that both of them are going to depart from their family to leave their children and their wives, their wife, to go to preach to the world, to preach repentance and baptism by water and the Holy Spirit of fire. This is the major distinction that Yeshua did and Yochanan did, and no other religion and church does actually, except our Church of Celestial Light. There are two baptisms: baptism by water and baptism by fire, by the Holy Spirit. This is one thing that was especially excluded from the Christian church. And why? Because, as we from the priesthood know, the baptism by fire gives you free channel to communicate with Elohim. As we always say, when there is a baptism, and especially the second baptism by fire, Receive in your heart and mind the fire, Holy Spirit of Elohim, and you are now blessed to be able to communicate with them in ways that will be clear to you to help you fulfill your stewardship on earth. So the baptism of Holy Spirit by fire is the most sacred thing. When first baptism by water, you are born again. You are cleansed from all your previous life, from your sins, because first of all, you have repented. And then comes the Holy Spirit given to you by Elohim the Mother, so you can communicate with them directly. And this is what Yochanan and Yesha were going to do to the children of Israel. And he says, and the worthy and virtuous shall be given the foundation of life. And those who seek in humility shall be given the greater light. But those who live the celestial life shall know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven. If you know through all the oracles, there are stages of knowledge. Yeshu always says you cannot have the greater knowledge unless first you know the lesser knowledge. And in the celestial light, the knowledge we gain it's in stages. The more light you gain, the more light units your soul gains, the more greater knowledge you can receive because you can understand it. And then Lazarus just stood up and he says, yes, Yeshua, I want to be your disciple. I want to go with you. Lazarus always wanted to go with Yeshua because he wanted to look after them like a big brother to Miriam. But Yeshua said, no, Lazarus, I know that you love me and you want to be my disciple, but your calling is greater than just to walk around me and be my disciple. Because we, with Yochanan, we give you our treasures of eternity. We give you our family so you can protect them. And maybe Lazarus was saddened because, well, they never seemed to call him to go with them on their journeys, but he learned in time that he was chosen for a much greater calling that he still today is. But first of all, he must learn just to take care of the family. And that was the family of the two most important people on earth back then. But in all this commotion, Miriam stood up, as I can see during my readings from the oracles. She stood up and go to Yeshua and said, my dear husband, shall I stay here? Her heart must be trembling then because she thought that she would stay at home taking care of the children. And though she's a wonderful mother and she loves Dara and Uriel, but she knew her mission is to be with Yeshua all the time. And she said, if this is your desire for me to stay here, I will. But didn't we speak that I will come with you always and forever? And Yesha, turning to hold Miriam's face between his hands, he kissed her lightly on the lips in front of all the witnesses and said unto her, beloved, I'm the mountain, and what I have said does not change. Even as I told you on the road from Egypt, you will always be at my side in the moments of darkness and light. The one person who knows me above all others, that when I'm gone from this earth, through you, all the truth of my life and words shall be known without error. You are the one perfect witness whom Elohim has decreed shall see all things. Then turning to the family, Yeshua said, I say unto you that the day will come when both Yochanan and I are no longer on the earth in the body. And then there will be many who will claim to speak in my name and teach my teachings. And many, even among the righteous and well-intended, will speak in error concerning the things which I said and did. Therefore, in the days that shall come after, remember Miriam. Remember Miriam and look to her as the pillar of the heavens. There will be some among you, even my greatest disciple, who will expound with mighty spirits upon the things which I taught them. And they shall work miracles and wonders, but only in the steadfastness of Miriam shall all knowledge reside, and the world will never again see another like her. Verily, though the world shall know her not, she, very important, she is the holy receptacle of truth, and the fullness of the celestial light shall flow through her. She, the woman that was never known for who she was until Brother Embrosewyn brought the fullness of celestial light to us. She was his wife, the mother of their two children, the first apostle, the first and the only perfect witness of his life here on earth and in heaven. And she is our angel of covenant. And she's mighty, if I may say. And this, I read through the words of her brother Lazarus. This is why I love Miriam and I look up to her. This is from Destiny, the Sacred Earth series, book 2, when Lazarus says, that I say with both humility and pride is a who once upon a time that seems far longer ago than it was, she was my sister Miriam. Now she is an angel of Elohim, well known for her temper. If the Nartesians are not yet afraid, they probably should begin being so. Miriam, had such a temper and steadfastness. This is why Yeshua also in the previous chapter told Yochanan, only she can be the angel of covenant, who she will be because of this fire in her, because she is the holy receptacle of truth, and she knows what she will do with all that wisdom and all that knowledge, and she is our pillar, and we should look up to her and whenever and in whatever we need as children of light. She is our guardian. She is our angel of covenant. And this Yeshua declared upon in their family and upon us all through these oracles. And then, as always, people are jealous, and especially women and men. And her uncle, she said, how can you put a woman before a man who will follow you? And Yeshua, this is why we are also chosen children of light. He said, like it or not, she is who she is, and you cannot change what Elohim picked and chose. No human can unchange the Elohim's decision, and the worthiness and the light in people's heart. If she is the one who she is, then if Elohim so decreed it, like it or not, no human will ever change it. So in reply, Yeshua stood facing all men, and in his eye, he says, "You have heard the promise I have given unto Miriam, that she, above all others, is the holy witness of my life and teaching. Therefore, choose you will to heed or not to heed my words, even as you may choose to climb the mountain and come to know it, or just sit idly gazing in the distance, always wondering about its nature and never knowing its blessing. So be it." And they bid goodbye. No argue. You like it or not, she is who she is, and I am who I am. And we are worthy children of light. We don't need for others to like us. As Sister Erica said, we are family. And as Sister Sky said, only to you I can say things, but now I have to whom to say things. And may other people like me or not, I have you, and I have Yesha, and I have Miriam and Lazarus, and all our heavenly family and parents. And as they go to speak to Uriel and Dara, and Uriel said through tears, "Yes, we know you have prepared us for this, that your life mission will someday become, but this is our calling too, to be your children, isn't it? As it is our calling to be children of light and to serve to this family, isn't it? And no matter the trials, as Brother Eistibus and Brother Reggie said, no matter the trials, no matter the tribulations, we will be strong, as Uriel words. We will be strong, for Heavenly Father and Heavenly Mother will never give us more than we can bear, will they? And they said, "No, children, Heavenly Father and Heavenly Mother will never ask more of us that we can do." By this, my heart stays in peace, because probably Elohim the Father and the Mother knew that I can take everything I took upon my shoulders. And all of you, my dear family, they never give us anything that we cannot bear. And with this and with my life, I testify that this is true. With all my heart, I love the oracles and I love the truth, and I'm honored to be part of the epoch of the last dispensation, the epoch of promise. And I'm thankful that we are together to do this final shining upon this planet Earth, because this is what we can bear and what we have come here to do. So in the name of Yeshua, our eldest brother of light, so be it.
So be it.
So be it.
Yeah, that was great. That was
So be it. So be it.
amazing, as always.
That was great. Thank you. Thank you, Johnson.
You're welcome.
So much, sister.
Always
Good.
beautiful.
Very good.
Always beautiful.
Yeah, always inspiring.
Brings tears to my eyes, actually.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I just wanted to add something to what Sister Dancha was talking about with the different stages, and the way I broke it down for my kids when they were little is you're talking about the different stages of light and knowledge and learning as we progress in Celestine light. And to make it take it down to its simplest form, you do something good, light comes into your soul. You do something not so good, it leaves your soul. So you just being the best person, as we talked about today, every day that you can be, you are going to be progressing. Just be good. That's the simplest thing. Just be good and make amends when we're not perfect. We're going to make mistakes, but make sure that you make amends for when you do, and you will continue to grow and be beings of light as you came into this life as, but will continue to expand. And then one other thing I wanted to mention, since you were talking about Miriam and Yeshua's children, because I've read a lot of things out there about the bloodline of Yeshua and Miriam, and that this person is a descendant, or this person claims that they're a descendant. And both of Miriam and Yeshua's children, instead of having children of their own, they adopted children, so that there
is no bloodline.
Yeah, they foresaw this situation in the future. There is no bloodline. We're all united in our love and our light, but just so there's no confusion with the bloodline of Yeshua and Miriam. They had their children and experienced family without continuing bloodline.
And that was done on purpose, just for the reason that today you have people who, as Sumara said, think, that they are direct descendants of Yeshua, or, and so, no, there's nobody put up on that pedestal, because there is nobody, and there never has been anybody past the children that Yeshua and Miriam had together themselves. Wow, great talks. And talking about Lazarus and Miriam, and looking at our family of light, and I know we all realize that we're different than most of the people around us. And I'm fortunate enough to be able to talk with Miriam on a regular basis, and to talk with Lazarus from time to time. Lazarus has a saying he's said it multiple times that came to my mind as Dante was talking, and others have spoken about their experiences. Is he says, whenever I talk to him about, this is a little bit challenging, and that's a little bit challenging, and it's always oftentimes challenging with other people who aren't in the family of light. And he says, well, just remember that you're a Celestine, and that means you're strange and peculiar. Anyone who's a Celestine is strange and peculiar. Remember that. And it didn't mean that we're strange and peculiar it just means to other people who are looking at us, where we may seem strange and peculiar to them, but because we
only if you talk, if you don't say anything, then we live by a higher light, and that also attracts those who are also children of light too. So we will continue to grow as those who aren't see us as strange and peculiar, and those who are attracted to something. They may still see as strange and peculiar, and they can't understand why they're attracted to it, but they are. All right, so I'm going to share with you now part 2 of the Prophet's Voice for 2022. And if you didn't hear part 1, it is recorded and it's on our Celestine Light YouTube page. It's part of that discussion 2 weeks ago, or our meeting 2 weeks ago. And this is part 2. And I am going to extract both parts and put them together, and that will be a separate video people can watch just for that part. So I have in the past sent this out as a newsletter like every year, but this is the first year giving an experiment to see how it works, just saying it in our meetings and posting it on YouTube. So without further ado, I'll go into that. I'm going to put it on the screen so you can read along. And so those of you who English isn't your first language, it may be easier if you can actually read it as I read it as well. As some of what follows in the Prophet's Voice may seem overly detailed in world politics, let me sum up at the beginning the insight and advice for 22 and beyond. 2022. Number 1, due to massive economic stimulus, including cash payments to citizens to help them cope with COVID restrictions and impacts, the countries of the world, flushed with the injection of cash into people's pockets and the economy, are currently in an economic bubble that has created a false illusion of economic stability and upward potential. This is a house of cards that will fall and will impact almost all countries and their citizens. Though there will be fluctuations from month to month, overall inflation will continue, and rising prices for food, fuel, and shelter will outstrip any pay raises people may get in their jobs. Number 3,
The rising debt of countries, particularly those with large social welfare programs, will lower the quality of life for the majority of citizens in 2022 and in the coming years. Taxes will increase to help make debt payments. Interest rates for loans of any kind and credit cards will rise. Overall economic output by businesses will decrease as the effects of the injection of government stimulus money is spent and disappears. Number 4, the normal trajectory of any virus, including COVID, is to become more contagious but less virulent with successive mutations, particularly 2 years after the emergence of the original strain. We are seeing this now with Omicron variant of COVID. This is not a virus that will be eradicated. People will still catch it and people will still die from it, but so they do each year from the flu, often in large numbers. According to the World Health Organization, WHO, between 300,000 and 650,000 people die each year worldwide from influenza, the flu, respiratory causes, and another 100,000 to 200,000 die from lower respiratory tract infections caused by influenza. In total, 400,000 to 850,000 people die each year from the flu, from influenza. The number varies depending upon how virulent the primary influenza strain is in any given year. The countries, states, provinces, and cities that stop being restrictive about the COVID the quickest will have the most resilient and prosperous economies and their citizens the most economic security. Those that continue to demand quarantines, mask wearing, and vaccinations will negatively impact their economies in proportion to the severity of their restrictions. Their citizens will suffer economically and socially. 5, economic migration of poor, unskilled, uneducated people from the third world countries to Europe, Canada, and the US will increase to an even greater extent than it has in the last few years. This influx of millions of people without skills will increase financial stresses on governments, contribute to rising rents as the new migrants compete for limited housing with established citizens, contribute to rising crime, result in loss of, not necessarily from the new migrants, I should point that out. We'll talk more about that further down. Result in loss of work for low-skilled citizens as they are replaced by new migrants willing to do the same job for less, and especially in Europe with clashing cultures and religions give rise to radical groups on both the left and the right of the political spectrum. The large-scale migration to some countries, but not others, will benefit the others as they will not experience the economic crunch or social unrest. Those countries that will benefit rather than be challenged will include most countries in Asia. So as Celestines, even if you are impacted by an influx of economic migrants, please remember that most are people you would be happy to have as neighbors. They are honest, hardworking, and just want to provide a better life for their families, even as all of us would if the situation were reversed. Nevertheless, there will be challenges and changes to society, and those shifts need to be considered in the choices and actions you take in your own life to live with those changes. Number 6, in Europe, Canada, and the US, the chasm between political sides will become greater. This will lead to more confrontation between and with radicals of the left and right. This is not a 2022 problem, but one that will continue in coming years and become worse. Number 7, crime will continue to rise in Europe, Canada, and the US. The bigger city you live in, the more likely you are to be a victim of crime, including violent crime. For many reasons, one of the best pieces of advice I can give to Celestines is do not live or work in big cities. And my apologies to those of you that do. I had to say that, and I know that that's something some people can't do anything about, but I needed to say it anyway. Number 8, supply chain disruptions will continue in 2022. Incumbent politicians will tell the citizens that all is well and everything is getting better and is under control. But empty or scantily stocked shelves and stores will contradict the false narratives of the politicians. What you see with your eyes will shout louder than what you hear with your ears. Number 9, the threat of war between major countries is high in 2022. It is not certain, and wise, pragmatic, diplomatic efforts can still prevent it. But the opposing parties must listen to the sincere concerns of one another and find ways to accommodate each other. So far, that is not happening. Too often we are seeing political leaders drawing lines in the sand, telling the other country not to cross that line. The only problem is in their I'm a bigger badass than you political posturing, they convince themselves that they must cross any line their opponent proclaims, or otherwise be perceived as weak. Let us praise for wise leaders, not childless idiots. The confrontational hotspots for 2022 include these nuclear-armed countries: Russia versus the Ukraine and its European and American allies. This is a conflict that could develop into a shooting war in 2022. China versus the US and its allies. China versus its Asian neighbors, particularly Taiwan. Look for China to conquer Taiwan within the next 5 years by one means or another. They prefer peaceful means, but they will use the military if necessary, and that will lead to a much wider economic and military conflict with other countries. India and Pakistan. They have already fought 4 major wars since they became independent countries, and now they are both armed with nuclear weapons, and both have large populations of radical religious groups, Hindus in India and Muslims in Pakistan, that hate each other. Israel versus Iran and any Arab country that may join it in a war against Israel. Israel already has nuclear weapons, and Iran will have them as soon as 2022. This is another religious confrontation, in this case between Muslims and Jews. Leaders of Iran and some other Middle Eastern countries have multiple times proclaimed their desire to eradicate Israel and push the Jews into the sea. And then, of course, North Korea versus any country it feels threatened by. The most volatile of these confrontation hotspots will continue to be the Middle East, where antagonists base their desire for war on their religious beliefs. And that desire is held by many everyday citizens, as well as some leaders, and not just by radical fringe groups. Regardless of the religion, whenever religious zealots exist in any number, the damage they can cause is great, as they base their destructive actions on their religious beliefs rather than common sense. China. Let us now look at the continued rise of China in the world and how that can affect each of us in our individual lives, regardless of which country we live in. The prophet's voice first spoke about China's rise about 15 years ago, before people gave China much thought. You may think of a dozen challenges in your life that you would like to hear more about, and may think China has little to do with your future, but you would be mistaken in that assumption. To understand our current and future a bit better, let's unveil the background on China. The current population of China is nearly 1.5 billion people. The total population of the world is almost 8 billion, so China accounts for about 19% of the total world population. Approximately 1 out of every 5 individuals in the world is a Chinese citizen. The Chinese government is a one-party communist system. There are no elections involving the citizens that are not members of the Communist Party. Regular citizens have no say in the choice of who rules the country, the provinces, or the cities. The dictates of the unelected Communist Party are the laws and regulations for every part of life. No dissent of any kind is allowed. It is a closed government system. There is zero input from the public in government policies or government processes, and any person not high up in the Communist Party has zero input or influence on the decisions made by the government about how every citizen must live their lives. Despite the severe political control and repression, most Chinese do not give much thought to their government. They simply conduct their lives as they're told by the government they must, and many people from Western countries are baffled as to why the Chinese citizens just go along. The reason the citizens meekly tolerate totalitarian rule is quite simple. Since President Nixon of the United States first opened what was then very reclusive China to the world in a span of months in 1971 and 1972, the leaders of the country have had a long-term, multi-decade approach to improving their economy. Every citizen in the country and every citizen in China, rich or poor, has seen their standard of living rise substantially. In 1971, before Nixon's overture brought China into the world economy, it was a very third world country, with almost all economic activities tightly centrally controlled by the government. For instance, you could not be a large independent farmer. All farms of any significance were owned by the Communist Party, and farmers were required to work on the government farms rather than have their own private enterprise. This collective type system creates an extremely unmotivated workforce. In 1971, the gross national income, which assigns a dollar value to the average annual income of a citizen, was a paltry $126 per person. Think about that. The average Chinese citizen's cash income for the whole year was $126. Of course, the cost of food and other items was substantially less in China than in the US or Western Europe, but not that less expensive. After Nixon's opening of China, the communist government decided to abandon the communist collective economic model and embraced open market capitalism, freeing the average person to create wealth for themselves rather than for the collective, allowing them to own businesses and grow them as big as they could on their own, allowed the natural entrepreneurial spirit of their citizens to blossom without roadblocks from the government. It brought about what would seem to be an economic miracle. China is now forecast to overtake the US as the world's largest economy by 2026. By 2020, the average annual income for a Chinese citizen had risen from $126 a year to over $10,000. That's an increase of almost 10% every year for almost 40 years. With that kind of noticeable change in a citizen's quality of life, the citizens become pacified and accepting of the otherwise authoritarian government. The average Chinese citizen went from living in abject poverty to owning nice apartments, houses, and cars, to being able to take vacations to resorts every year, to many citizens becoming millionaires and even some billionaires. With that kind of tangible change in their quality of life, the people are more than happy to not think about the government restrictions on other parts of their life. Contrast the quality of life improvement for Chinese citizens since 1971 with the US and Western Europe during the same time period. I was a sophomore in high school in 1971. My mother, like many women in the US, was a stay-at-home mom. She had never worked at an income-producing job since she married my dad at age 19. My dad's middle-class income alone was sufficient for our family to have a comfortable, secure life. Of course, as probably all of us know, that is not the case today. Proportionally, there are far less stay-at-home moms in 2022 than there were in 1972. In fact, any woman staying at home today probably has an income-producing stay-at-home job. Most families with children simply can't make it financially without both parents working. The reality that no one in government will tell you is the world economy has been in a long-term decline for decades. Since 1961, the world gross national product, how much all businesses in a country produce relative to their population, has dropped 50%. That is the most drastic drop in the GDP since records have been kept. It is more than the period of the Great Depression and the soup lines of the 1930s. Here's a graph published by the World Bank that shows the 50% decline in gross GDP since 1961 for all the countries of the world combined. You can see over here it's starting at +4, and that was back in the 1960s. And then you can see how it's just gone on a steady decline year by year by year to here we are in 2020 where it's -4. The two questions we need to think about as we plan our own futures are, one, why in Western Europe and most of the rest of the world is it so much more difficult to earn a livable income today than it was back in the 1960s, 1970s, and even 80s? Number two, what are the ramifications in our lives to the rise of China as an economic power? Looking at the first question, every year governments of the world do two things that unintentionally force their citizens to have to work more and have less. Every year, every government passes new laws and regulations. Apparently, they don't feel they are living up to their nickname as lawmakers unless they come up with piles of new laws and rules to burden the people. As a reference, here's a picture taken in 2018 in the United States that shows the difference in all the laws passed in the US in 1960 on the left, that little pile of 1960, compared to all the laws passed in 2018. Quite a big difference. Every year, this pile just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Our elected legislative people, whatever party they're from, they don't feel they're doing their job unless they make it our lives more onerous and more burdensome by more laws, more regulations, more rules that have to be followed. With each new edict, law, tax requirement, regulation, or executive decree, it becomes more complicated and time-consuming for businesses to comply. So they are less productive as a business, and they have to pass on their additional costs to comply with the new rules with higher prices for their products. And it's the same for people. Complying with all the laws, taxes, and regulations takes some of their finite time and life away from their relationships and doing things they would prefer to be doing for their quality of life. Second, the trajectory of virtually every leading country since before the Roman Empire is of politicians keeping the populace pacified by offering more and more freebies to the people. With the Romans, it was free bread and free circuses. With Europe and the US, it's an ever expanding list of welfare programs that provide free food, free or subsidized health care, subsidized rent, free college education, and many other benefits. With those kinds of social net programs, of course, impoverished people from other countries want to immigrate. Those benefits are all great. If you're on the receiving end of the benefits, it can seem to be a very good function of government. But no government in the world takes in enough money in taxes to pay for their welfare programs. And the end result is the government goes into more and more debt to be able to fund the welfare programs. Just paying the interest on the debt becomes a Herculean burden, and it just keeps getting bigger, not smaller. By 2032, just 10 years from now, or years sooner by some estimates, the amount the US has to pay just in interest on the national debt is projected to be over $1 trillion. Just the interest. $1 trillion is the same as 1,000 billion. This is one of the major contributors to inflation. You're happy for a few months after you get a pay raise until you realize the prices everywhere are going up. The pay raise you get at work is less than the higher cost each month for food, fuel, and shelter. None of this is happening by accident. On a macro scale, there are multiple adversarial countries and a significant number of members of one major religion that are actively working to bring down the Western form of democratic government and the world economic model based upon the American dollar and the strength of the American economy. The largest foe of the status quo in the world is China. China intends to supplant the United States and become the dominant world power, both economically and militarily. That has been their intention and carefully laid out plan since 1980. Well, by the way, because I'm talking so much about China in this, it'll probably be censored and not allowed to be on YouTube very long. So if you want to see it on YouTube, you should probably copy it soon because it'll probably be taken down. They hope to do this without any military conflict. They have been building a big, powerful military so they can fight and win if they have to, but their preference is to just project the military power to cower other nations into not getting into a conflict with them or their expansion plans. Hand in hand with military power, they seek to become so economically vital to every country in the world that war against them becomes unthinkable. Basically, they want to become the emperor of the world without a fight, or at least to get the countries of the world to always agree with whatever China wishes to do or not to do. Here's an interesting graphic that shows how well China is doing at becoming economically essential for other countries. This is a really cool graphic. So this is 2020, and it shows the world and
That's
2000, excuse me. And for everything that's in blue are countries who the United States was the major supplier of goods to that country. Just 9 years later, look what the map looks like now. Now, every country in red are the countries that China is the major supplier of goods to that country. Pretty interesting graphic. Now, one of the leading guides of the Chinese government vision for the future of the world is a man almost nobody outside of Chinese government has heard of. His name is Liu Mingfu. In his book, The China Dream, Great Power Thinking and Strategic Posture in the Post-American Era, which was translated into English in 2015, Liu outlines the long-term plans to supplant the US as the dominant power in the world. This is a fantastic book. I recommend anybody who is interested in the dynamics in the world to read this book. This is quoting Liu. Before China can take over as world leader, so he's already assuming that this is their goal, to take over as world leader in the 21st century, it will need a half a century to work through 3 stages. The first will be catching up to America and actively taking a leading role where it can in the world. The second will be racing neck and neck with America and leading the world as an equal partner with America. And the third stage will be guiding the world through exercising leadership and management in the world and thereby becoming the world's leading nation. There can be no doubt about China's intention to be supreme among countries with this conclusion by Liu Mingfu. The grand strategy of the 21st century China has to answer 3 questions. What kind of world should China build? What kind of Asia should China build? And what kind of world should China build? So what kind of China should we build? What kind of Asia should we build? And what kind of world should we build? So basically in that thing, he's saying in a nutshell that they want the entire world to conform to what China wants. And that's everything they're doing is to that end. I like China. I do a lot of business with China, but it's good to be able to understand what the motivations for what they do are and to take that into account. It's just like when we buy goods because we buy a lot of goods from China that we use. And when we contact a supplier in China and we want to establish a relationship with them, and they'll send us a product, and sometimes that product is, this is not a good product. Sometimes they're even counterfeit products. They're just not up to what we expect, to the high standard we want. Other times we'll find a supplier who's absolutely fantastic. I mean, you couldn't get a better supplier. They're prompt. They mail quickly. Their product is super high quality, made to highest standards. And so it's just like any other country. Some people do a good job. Some people don't do a good job. And the people in China are wonderful people. Everyone that I've had contact with through business, I enjoy doing business with them very much. They're very nice people. So the things I've talked about here with China is just to keep in mind what's happening in the world. And when you see dynamics happening, keep this in mind, because a lot is being influenced by what China wants. And that's just going to get bigger and bigger in our lives. It's going to affect people's lives. So my brothers and sisters of light, these are some of the collisions that are coming or that have already begun. Forewarned is forearmed. As Celestines, if you live in the light, you will be protected in many ways. Remember that, not the least of which is the promptings in your heart and mind from your guardian angels to take actions for your safety and your prosperity. Even though I talked about things that are not the greatest things, it's not like you have to go worry about these things. Live your life with love and light, and these things will not affect your life, especially if you're aware of them and you're looking out for them, you're cautious of them. I pray that each of you can come this year to our Vitalta celebration in Ashland, Oregon. I hope you can. It's the summer solstice. Hopefully all this COVID nonsense for travel will be done. People will find the way with Elohim's blessing to be able to come here. And if we have enough priesthood holders and members that can show up here in Ashland for Vitalta 2022, we can form a circle of power that will have an effect on the problems of the world. And I promise you, you will remember all of your lives being in that circle. So I hope you're all here. And I testify to you, my brothers and sisters of light, that we are the children of light. We have ways to do things that are so powerful that even in our few numbers, we can do great things. You are great. I love you so much to be part of my life, to be part of Celestine light. This is the true path of light of Elohim. Yeshua of Nazareth is our brother of light, and you are my brothers and sisters of light. I love you so much. I testify of these things in the name of our brother Yeshua. So be it.
So be it. I love the chapter, the verses in the oracles where Yeshua is talking about the depths of great power walking the earth. That's us. And
Right.
we're beginning.
All of you,
We're
all of
beginning.
us.
So let's get together and do some magic.
Vitalta's in June. Time to plan.
June 21st is Vitalta. We have a very special positive energy vortex to take everyone to that we'll do the circle of power there that will greatly amplify its power, and you will feel it rushing through your body. It's a great feeling.
Sounds great. Sounds great. So when is the 21st?
In June. I don't know the day. I think it's a weekday, I think. I'm not sure. Let's go look at the calendar real quick here. Let's see. June.
Oh, it is on a Tuesday.
Tuesday the 21st, right there.
Yeah.
So the way we normally work this is people start coming normally around like Friday. Some people may come on Friday, some people may come on Saturday, some people may come on Sunday, some people may come on Monday. But normally from about the 17th through the 22nd, those days, we'll normally have multiple activities, go to multiple
Have different classes.
We'll have different classes that we'll teach in person, different things that can really be done in person better than any other way. We'll take several field trips to positive energy vortexes. And then we will have to have things wrapped up by the 22nd because we have a big family group coming in the following week. Tomorrow's mother's 90th birthday celebration.
Wow, great. That sounds good. Can you offer like an example of hotels or where to stay, or
Yeah, there's
what do you recommend close to y'all?
Ashland is a tourist town.
Uh-huh.
And so there's a lot of places to stay, from hotels, motels, bed and breakfasts. So if you just typed in Ashland, Oregon, visit Ashland, Oregon, and the search engine, you'd see a lot of different places. Or the Chamber of Commerce also offers places too.
And the Stratford Inn is,
Very,
I've checked around because of my family's gathering. They have the lowest prices, and and Erica can talk about.
oh yeah,
She and
Erica
her
stayed at
family
Stratford Inn.
stayed
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I can attest that I stayed there. It was beautiful and it was clean, and all the people that worked there were lovely. So it's a beautiful place to stay.
And it's right in town.
Yeah, it's like 2 minutes from it's 2 minutes from Embrosewyn. So
Oh,
it's
okay,
Sumara,
great.
yeah,
Right
you
next to
driving, yeah.
Yeah, they got a grocery store across the street from it. It's got all the downtown stores to the other direction, all within one. Not quite 2 minutes to me, probably more like 4 minutes.
Depending on the red light.
It
Sounds
seems
great.
you get there so fast. It's so pleasant in Ashland. It's like everybody is so happy there and they're so welcoming. It's a beautiful place to visit and to live.
We have a lot of light in
Yeah,
this town.
you're very
We're
fortunate.
surrounded by positive energy vortexes. So.
Great. Better than all these chemical companies I'm surrounded by.
Yeah, I encourage everyone to really make an effort this year. And of course, if they allow it with the COVID, which by June should be almost gone. I don't think it's going to be much. I think they're going to kind of come around to that understanding pretty soon in most places that COVID's not going to go away. There's always going to be some strain of it somewhere, and you just got to go on and live your life. You can't be destroying your economy because of restrictions on people's actions, where they can work and where they can socialize and things like that. So hopefully, and I'm very optimistic that travel will be fine by the summer, and I really hope everyone can come this summer. We can do in-person baptisms if you come in person. That's always cool. And also, there's all these great places.
And then you'll be part of the priesthood.
And we probably, well, I know we can get group rates. So if enough people can contact us that can come, a couple months before? I don't know how.
Well,
the sooner the better.
I will call them today, which is what I did with my family, and I can reserve 10 rooms, and then I just have to let them know closer to the time how many rooms we actually need.
So this also goes for anyone who's listening to this video, watching it on YouTube, didn't get to be part of the video where they're meeting today. If you're planning on coming for Vitalta 2022 to Ashland, Oregon, please let us know as soon as you've made that decision. If we have enough people that we know that are coming, then we can get the group rate at the Stratford Inn. That would be great for everybody.
Right.
Great. I plan on coming.
Excellent.
Okay.
Well,
I mean,
as we know, Elohim will make the way if
right.
that's the best use of your time.
The money will be there, the time will be there, it'll all flow because that's how it works. So you just put out the desire and the prayers and it all will flow for you as it needs to.
Well, just like it did for Erica to come.
Right, because we had no way on how we had no idea how we financially was going to go there last year, and we stayed for a whole week. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Great.
For us
And
too.
we loved it.
We loved having your family here. That was so cool. So yeah, Erica got to already visit some of the places that we would take other visitors to, but there's some more that she never got to see that she'll have to come back this year to go see.
I hope we all can make it this year. I think that circle of power would be
Oh,
yeah, we're really
to be in.
Well,
that too.
in fact, tell them what we've envisioned for that gathering. Do you remember?
You tell me.
We have a wonderful positive energy vortex that's on the top of a rock. It's called, it's not Pilot Rock.
Well, it's Table Rock. It's a table that's perfectly flat. It's very large. It's not just a little teeny rock. It's like a mile in length. And but it's one of those things geologically. At one time, a river ran around, and the softer ground got eroded down into the valley. That's now the Rogue Valley, 45 miles long. But the table rocks, the two table rocks, were made of a harder stone, so they stayed up higher. And when you get up there, you have a view that extends miles down into California and all around you, 360. And right there is this amazing positive energy vortex. In June 21st is a great time of year to be there. Not too hot, not too cold. The unique wildflowers and wildlife that are on Table Rock that are found nowhere else in the entire world are there at that time. So it's a good place.
And we thought we'd go up at sunrise. That way no one else will be there because it is a public place.
Well, also it's a very powerful time. So we'll park down below, and then it's about a half-hour hike, walking up a very good trail to get from the parking area up to the top of Table Rock, and then another 15 minutes to get to where the positive energy vortex is. So about 45 minutes from the time we park. So we'll park in the dark and start walking up in the dark, so that when we are at the top to do our circle of power, it's just as the sun comes over the horizon.
Sounds amazing.
It will be.
Wow. So I'll bring my hiking boots.
Right?
Although the trail is very easy. You can walk in tennis shoes up the trail. It's not difficult.
Okay.
So, and then for those of you who are in other countries, if you're contemplating coming, make sure you get things in motion ahead of time as far as visas or anything that you might need for that purpose. And anything we can do to help in that area to get your visas or anything like that, to get permission to come for a religious activity, please let us know. We'll be happy to help for that.
Okay, well, we have an angel and words of power, and oh, okay, well then I'll do 2 words of power. So let's see, if you want to mute, we can all say these together. And remember, we start softly and build in power. Since we were talking about our family of light, I picked 2 words of power that are actually in the book this time. The first one is on page 92. Attract people into your life that can help you. And I love that sigil. It's like 2 hands helping in a heart. And the words for that energy are Jatash Wasif.
Jatash Wasif.
Jatash Wasif. So that's JATAASH. WIS is in Sam, EEF is in Frank. So we will begin softly and build in power.
Jatash Wasif. Jatash Wasif. Jatash Wasif.
All right. And the other one I'd like to do is encourage harmonious relationships. And that's just 2 pages later, and this is the sigil for that. So it's cool to see how all those circles are interconnected. And the words of power for that is Eisenhower.
That's a hard one, even in English, for those who speak English. So, okay. I'm going to pronounce this for you guys.
Starts with an E.
I want to make sure everybody can see. I don't know if this there. You got to get just the right spot. I don't know.
Never shows that.
Yeah, it doesn't. I don't know if you can see it. Okay. All right. Well, it's on page 95 if you have the book, Words of Power and Transformation, and it's pronounced. The first part is like an I, and then Zen, like you're meditating, Zen, and then Har. So Eisenhower. And then the last part is it's just like it's spelled. It's kind of, you say the D and you say the lash, so it's Delash. It's Lashmik. Eisenhower Dlashmik. That last one's a little tongue twister. Eisenhower Dlashmik. Okay, so ready? We're going to do this one.
Start softly and build in power.
Eisenhard Lashmik.
Eisenhard Lashmik. Eisenhard Lashmik. Right. We're just gonna attract all those harmonious relationships into our lives.
All right. We're going to say goodbye. This has been a wonderful meeting, wonderful talks, wonderful energy feeling from everybody. And
Wonderful to meet you.
remember
Zandria.
Zandria, yes, and her family.
Yes,
Yes, thank you. We hope to see you again.
yes.
And remember to go to our Facebook group that Sister Dansha maintains so wonderfully for us. Make sure if you read the comments, please like them so that people know that you read their comments and that you appreciate that they made it. Make some comments of your own. That's wonderful as well. And then just one last thing before our next group meeting, this meeting that we're having right now will be 2 weeks from now, same time, same day. Okay, all right, then we will say goodbye until next 2 weeks for general meeting, next week for priesthood meeting, for those of you in the priesthood or attending that meeting as guests. Love you so much. Thank you for being a part of our lives. Look forward to seeing
Have
you.
a wonderful
Thank
week,
you.
everyone. Namaste. Love and light.
Namaste.
Have a wonderful
Bye,
birthday.
everybody.
Wait, one more thing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Happy birthday, Erica.
Thank you. Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Oh,
Thank you. Thank you.
Wish you happy birthday.
happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
Love you all.
Yes.
Love you
Love
all.
y'all.
Look forward to seeing you
Bye.
next
Bye
week.
bye.
Have a great week.
All of you too.
You
Bye-bye.
too.